I've just had a massive realization about what is going on in both HBar and XLM right now. And if you can understand this about these two coins in particular, then you stand to make some amazing gains during this next bull market. And guys, in this video, I'm going to address exactly what we can see in the charts that's giving away the game, as well as that look at some data from some other platforms that you probably haven't even considered to show where we're headed. So hit the like button. Let's get into this video. Now guys, if you are subscribed to this channel, which you absolutely should be, you will have been bullish on crypto in general since the start of this year. Because since the start of this year, I've gone with the narrative that we've hit the bottom and we're pushing towards the upside. And what kind of drove me to believe that was the mass kind of talk of Bitcoin halvings and not having halvings yet, and we can't do this. Once you start to understand that there's two players in this game of cryptocurrency, that is the big money and the small money, of which we sit unfortunately in the small money arena, you'll understand that if you are suddenly so smart that now we have already been able to predict that after the halving that there can't possibly be a bull market, you'll understand that maybe the big money who ultimately manipulates the market may have a change of plans, okay? And what we can see on Bitcoin is obviously as well, now I just want to point out there's no guarantee that Bitcoin doesn't roll over and see new lows at some point. Now I personally don't believe that that will happen, although it can happen. Anything can happen, but we need to be prepared for whatever circumstances come out. Now, as we look into the Bitcoin chart, before we dive in and look at the other charts, I want to consider what we've really been seeing happen here. Now, every time we've kind of run into an area of resistance, for the second time, we've actually broken through, okay? We had one here, we had one here, and now we've kind of run back into that area of resistance. And in my opinion, we'll be pushing up and maybe coming back down to retest this area at some other point. But what was very significant about what happened on Friday with the XRP settlement case with the SEC, we saw crypto exploding towards the upside, but most notably, Bitcoin didn't. Why was that? Well, it's because of this. And I've talked about this before on the channel. It's the path to altcoin season. Now, if you were around in the last bull market, or perhaps even the one before, then you'll understand that money doesn't just go into crypto all at the same time. Like every crypto doesn't just boom. So people who are in my free Telegram, just a link down below, love to have you in there. And they're like, oh, why is this coin not pumping when Bitcoin's pumping? Why is this coin that's like number 560 on the market cap not growing while Bitcoin and everything else is pumping? Well, because that was phase one. But this doesn't just like go phase one and then phase two. It kind of gradually moves from one to the other. So we can still see growth in Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then we start to see the large caps gaining. And that 3 days ago, was the catalyst, in my opinion, that really started to push us into large caps movement. And then perhaps we might see a bit of an altcoin season. And how can I tell this? Well, there's a very handy chart to look at. You can see the Bitcoin is still struggling to get up above this level, up to around, $31,600. There's nothing saying that we can't have a little bit of a pullback. And if we look across to the Bitcoin dominance chart, then it's very clear and very obvious what is going on right now. We can see that we broke out of this range on the Bitcoin dominance where it was around 48%. And now bringing this Fibonacci from here and then bringing it to the swing low down here, you can see that we run into contact on the 1.618 extension here, okay? Golden ratio, perfectly pretty much, it turns round and comes back down. Now what we can see that's a very obvious pattern in my opinion pretty much is a double bottom, okay? Yeah, it's not the tidiest because of all this sort of mess over here, but this pretty much is a double bottom, or if you want, like a quadruple bottom, okay? And this is obviously a good indication that we're going to get a turnaround in the markets on the Bitcoin dominance. Now we see Bitcoin has been pumping since earlier on this year, and that has basically looked like that. Now, obviously, like any chart, nothing goes up in a straight line. We can see that we're coming back for a retest of this pattern, and I do think eventually this will happen. So during this period of time here, I do think that we are going to get a bit of a boom in those large cap coins. Now, what's very important to note is you can find those large cap coins by seeing how they reacted to that positive news a couple of days ago. So two coins, in my opinion, saw significant growth other than XRP, which obviously saw its growth for a different reason, but that's a video for another day. HBar, you see, had a very aggressive piece of growth during there, which shows to us its sort of large cap status, okay? So that one day, it went up around 13%, which is very aggressive pushing, okay? We then see XLM, again, kind of similar to XRP, saw a big bit of growth. But it's showing us some intent for growth going forward. And if you're like, oh, well, what about the tokenomics? What about this? What about that? Guys, I hate to break it to you, and it is important that you're doing all this research on these cryptos and understanding the technical aspects of them all and understanding a few bits and pieces. Don't get me wrong. But also, you've got to understand the other side of crypto, which is the degenerate side of people who just kind of get hyped about stuff and it pumps. Now, that's what makes the likes of Dogecoin pump and Sheep Renew and Pepe Coin. These coins absolutely boomed without any kind of fundamental backing behind them in the first place. Now, maybe they have established some fundamental backing. But what really got them hyped and exciting was the fact that there was a lot of hype behind those projects. So, I'm going to show you something that maybe you've not seen before. Now, in previous videos, I showed you the dark and dirty tactics that YouTubers are using to try and get more views on their videos, where they're basically just going after keywords that are of interest to their subscribers. And obviously, you know, it works. But there's a double-sided thing to this. Okay? It's not just like the case of the YouTuber trying to get more views, but those views are coming off all the people who are searching. So considering we're at the bottom of a bear market, or in many people's opinion, when it comes to the altcoins at the bottom of a bear market, look at XLM. Over the last month, we've had 1.17 million searches. Now, in terms of the size of the crypto YouTube community and how many people were in that community space right now that are using YouTube, I think you're not really looking at more than like 500,000 people. Maybe a little bit more. Okay, so obviously each month, multiple people are searching for the same thing over and over again, which is why you get these massive growth rates. And you're like, well, how do you make up that metric? Guys, if you go to like Benjamin Cowan's channel, if you go to like the big crypto YouTubers like Coin Bureau, Benjamin Cowan, these kind of like big channels that have nearly 1 million followers, or kind of maybe up to 2 million followers in case of Coin Bureau, those are huge channels, and yet look at how many views they're getting each month. And if you go into Social Blade, you can check how many subscribers they're getting each month. Benjamin Cowan, who's like 780,000 subscribers, is only getting like 1,000 new subscribers each month, which is actually significantly slower than my channel. And if you actually subscribe, maybe my channel will catch his one day. So what this is telling me is XLM is really exciting and hyped up in terms of a lot of people's opinions. And then if we come across and look at HBar, you've got 110,000 people. Now, that's obviously a lot smaller than the amount of people who are searching for XLM, but it's still one of the most hyped and exciting projects going. So if you were to ignore all the stuff about like the technical and the jargon that's going on behind the scenes of whatever coins, ultimately what drives the price is people buying a project. And there are obviously other mechanisms like burn mechanisms and stuff like that, but ultimately people buying cryptos very aggressively forces the price up. That's why we saw XLM and why we saw HBar on Friday booming towards the upside. So what do we know? Well, it means that these projects are already gaining a lot of interest, and when people start to come back into the crypto markets, which I guarantee will happen, especially because of news like this, where you can see SEC formally accepts BlackRock's spot ETF application for review. Now, obviously, it still means it needs to be approved, but it's now on to the next step. And something like in the history of BlackRock, they've applied for 524 ETFs, something like that, and only one has ever been rejected, and that was more than 10 years ago. So this is probably now going to be making the news on the BBC, on CNBC, or whatever news channel you're talking about across the world. And then all those people who haven't really been paying attention to crypto for the last year or two will then suddenly flood back into the space and start buying up their hyped coins again. And they're going to see from all of the YouTubers they're watching the coins that have a lot of hype and excitement. Guess what happens? They go and buy those coins, the price goes up. No brainer, okay? Maybe slightly later on, people get a bit more technical and understand more about what these projects do. Now, we know that HBar has all the fundamentals to attract an excited and hyped up community of people, and I'm not taking away from its ability to do what it's doing very well right now. You can see it's got like 120 million transactions every single day, super cheap, you know, it's associated with all of these different companies. It's got all the narrative to feed to the crypto investor who doesn't maybe know a huge amount about crypto, okay? And they know enough that this looks like a good project, maybe something I want to buy. They look at XLM and they know that XLM is going to solve a real world issue, could be associated with CBDCs going forward if they get allowed, who knows, but XLM is going to go in the hand of XRP, and we know that XRP is going to see some massive growth. But I'm more excited about XLM just because it's got a smaller market cap. It's going to see more growth, in my opinion. Now coming to coin market cap, We can see it's got a market cap $3.4 billion for Stellar XLM. It's pretty big. HBar, however, market cap currently $1.6 million. And yes, the fully diluted valuation is bigger. And yes, it will be adding more tokens to its supply, like 35% more tokens. But if you understand that the growth of crypto will probably go beyond that number, it's probably not a massive thing that you're going to have a release of tokens. And by then, it's like next March. If you're like me, you probably will be out of these coins anyway. And I'm going to talk you through why I'm going to be in and out of these coins multiple times throughout a bull market. And it's for one of two reasons that I'll be in and out. One, because of this, right? It makes sense that from the large cap money, you'll start to see more growth into altcoins. So I can get into altcoins, and I'll show you a sheet in just a minute, which I'll give you for absolutely free, where you can find incredible altcoins that will be ready for altcoin season. But it's also because I'm not like a maxi on any coin, okay? I'm not emotionally attached to any of these digital currencies. I really don't care about many of these cryptocurrencies. I understand what they represent, I like what they're doing, but all I want to do is invest to make money. So if that's what you want to do as well, then, you know, don't get too attached to them. Be willing to sell them in order to buy something else. No matter how good you think that project is, keep doing research around, find other coins, because this is probably the best way you're going to handle this. I'm going to show you right now. Now, as we look into the XLM chart, is it a good time to be buying XLM? Well, right now, obviously we have that good news from XRP. It boosted the XLM price, and then it's had a really aggressive pullback. So does that mean we panic? We should get into other coins right now? What's going on? Well, you need to understand this. It's looking pretty healthy. It's had a good pullback to around the 50% zone. If we get rid of this wick and discount this wick, we do the body of the candle, you can see that it's pulled back to its 50% zone on that candle. Usually that indicates a good buying opportunity. Obviously, it's not financial advice. I'm just indicating often a pullback from the last big candle is a good buying opportunity for a coin like this. Now, if XLM continues to grow like this and I'm putting in my money, well then guys, all I need to do is identify the next areas of resistance on this XLM chart. And then I need to plan ahead what I'm going to do. So you can see I'm just finding these highs that we were previously hitting into, because previous lines of resistance will be future lines of resistance. So, you know, eventually they might break through, but until that happens, you can always anticipate a bit of sideways action once we get to them. Now, let's say I put in $1,000 into XLM. Now, right today, XLM comes up here and it does 91%. So at this point, you will now see that I have a whopping $1,900, a little bit more. So what do I know from that? Well, I can then say at this point, maybe we're going to move from a large cap into a bit more of an altcoin season. Okay, cool. So then I can maybe take a little bit of profit. Now, maybe I take out $200, maybe I take out $500, and then I start to invest it into other coins. Now, what's important about doing this? One, it means I have less exposure to one coin that has already pumped, in this case XLM, but it now means for free, I have a bet on these other coins. And technically it is for free, because it's money that I never had before. It's money that's made from the coin. And this means that as we go over time, I can take money out from making gains and put it into something else, following that pattern down. And then maybe in 6 months' time, if XLM gets up here, 240%, then I've got another like $1,000 or whatever it is there, given that we've taken some out lower down. And then I can start to put that into the likes of Medicaid. I can put it into whatever. I can always take it out and put it in US dollars. So that if we get some crazy black swan event and Bitcoin does something like this and comes to around here, well, guess what? Now I can start buying back in, because I was sensible enough to take profits from the bottom where I got in low, and then I'm sitting around 86% up. Now, obviously, we all have different amounts of money, but right now, just looking at coins being like, oh, well, you're not going to get a 50x or 100x out of Ethereum or out of Bitcoin or whatever. I guarantee, well, I don't guarantee, but I pretty much will tell you for 99% of the coins in the top 100, the other one being Bitcoin, you probably were most of the time better off in Bitcoin, with the exception of like Solana and a few others that have outgrown Bitcoin this year. Maybe there's a couple of others, but I can't remember what they are. So basically, guys, it's not about trying to find a 50x or 100x right now, but buying into the bigger caps and waiting for them to grow and then moving the money out of the bigger caps into like the kind of medium-sized caps. Okay, so right now it's taking money out of the largest caps, the likes of Bitcoin, moving it perhaps into the likes of Ethereum. into the likes of XLM, into the likes of HBar. And that's basically what I do, and that's what I will continue to do. And by having the ability to just take money out, it's such a good habit, because when you get to the top of bull markets, you would have already been doing this. You're in the habit, rather than just, putting all this money in and then hoping that one day you're going to retire because you've got loads of money in HBar or XLM, because maybe, who knows, something happens and they don't make it for whatever reason. So when it comes to the likes of HBar, similar things, guys. We are looking again at having a nice kind of push up towards this area here. Now, if that happens from current prices, HBar will do an 87% rise. That's not going to be life-changing money for many people, okay? If you're putting in $1,000, it's going to get $870 back. If you're putting in $100, $87 back. But use that money, because once you have that money and you start to move into some of the small cap altcoins, you may be able to find yourself one that's going to do 1,000x. And if you can find one that's going to do 1,000x and put $10 in, that's $10,000. If you can put $100 in and it does 1,000x, that's $100,000. And that $100, a couple of $100, once you've had a few months of growth out of large caps and Bitcoin and whatever, is where really you can make most money in crypto. So I'm not even going to sit here and tell you where I think HBar and XLM can go, because, in my opinion, guys, they are going to go extremely high. But you and I both know, you've seen enough of those videos telling you to speculate on where they could go. And it's just feeding your ego, okay? It's just feeding you and making you feel better that this coin's going to go here and whatever. Really, the tactic should be move from Bitcoin into Ethereum, into large caps, into small caps, and then maybe repeat the cycle, because it may be a double kind of like leg up or whatever. You will get multiple cycles of this throughout the crypto market, okay? It doesn't just happen in one steady flow. It will go up and down a bit as well. And if you're wanting to hold these coins and you do it safely, guys, don't get stuck on exchanges and end up in something like the FTX drama, because I know multiple people who've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars by being stuck on a big exchange. You never know what's behind the doors of these places, and you never know what could happen. And that's why I use a hard wallet, guys. This one here is a Decent wallet, which is a link down below. You'll get a discount if you go through that link today. It's a biometric wallet. It works with a fingerprint scanner, which is super cool. It also connects via Bluetooth to my phone. It doesn't need any wires, which is ultra secure, but it also means I can use it without having to carry my laptop around all the time. So if you've just got a mobile device, iPhone or Android, then get yourself a hardware wallet with a discount today in the link down below in the description. Stores like 2,200 different cryptos, so all of the major cryptos that I talk about on this channel you can find here. You can come across that website as well, guys, and you can find the supported coins tab at the top if you want to find out more. Guys, if you enjoyed that video, hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. See you in the next one.